rugby can go anyway. So when the ball or the call is made your way, and you see the penalty kick being kicked, and all of a sudden the truth becomes reality that you're going to go to the finals, that was a jubilation moment. As Daniel might have said there, all of us in the stands were in great relief.
How do we communicate to make, like our women who are maybe casual fans or maybe not even fans, to make them understand how big of a deal this is? KONYE.
Again, as you might have heard, that's very clear that there are a lot of men rugby fans than women's fans in Kenya, and actually worldwide. Again, depending on what corner of the world you are. If you go to New Zealand, yes, you'll find a lot of women rugby fans. But the main thing that I usually say is that, again, if you're a rugby fan or if you love any kind of rugby and you want to see some good rugby, the women are playing some really good rugby, as Micah has said, that, again, they're playing some good, pristine rugby. The girls have only lost one game through the Challenger Series. Again, and it was a major flip. That day was cold as hell. And I felt bad. Even in the stands, I was freezing my balls off.
We're going to get started right away. And as you all remember, last June, when we hosted Kenya's #1 rugby fanatic, it was a story of a bittersweet triumph. Our Shujaa boys had just clawed their way back to the HSB World 7 Series after a brutal relegation. Our Lady Lionesses, however, had fallen heartbreakingly short of their dreams in Madrid, of getting to Madrid for qualification. Now, fast forward to today, both our men and women are not just fighting for Kenya's pride, they are fighting for survival and glory on the grand stage of the LA Rugby Sevens. For the first time ever, the Lionesses have risen against all odds, winning the Challenger Series and finally securing a long overdue sponsorship. Shujaa, meanwhile, faces another battle to stay alive in the core series. And no one has lived this roller coaster more passionately than tonight's guest. Whether it's Harare, whether it's Munich, whether it's Montevideo, or whether it's Madrid, wherever Kenya plays, one face is always in the stands. He's the fan who shows up first, screams the loudest, and leaves last. And when he's not rallying the crowd, he's building the future of the game through grassroots programs for the youth. Ladies and gentlemen, mabibi na mabwana, boys and girls, give it up for the one and only Doctor of Rugby Culture himself, Dr. KONYE NJOROGE. Karibu sana, Doctor. Karibu sana. Ladies and gentlemen, mabibi na mabwana, boys and girls, give it up for the one and only Doctor of Rugby Culture himself, Dr. KONYE NJOROGE. Karibu sana, Doctor. Okay, tuko na echo, so someone needs to reduce their volume. I don't know if it's the doctor who needs to reduce the volume.
No, it's not the doctor.
Okay. Yeah, sawa. But doctor, can you hear us loud and clear?
Yeah, just tell him to hold on.
Okay. Just hold on for 1 second. Ngoja kidogo, kuna hitilafu. But while at that, I want the listeners to keep telling us where you're tuned in from. I can see Mika pale namwambia Steven JJ.
KONYE natusikia?
Hakuna shen kama okay. So Dr. KONYE natusikia loud and clear. How are you doing today, Dr. KONYE?
I'm doing wonderful. Can't complain at all.
Okay. And KONYE, you are Mr. Rugby Culture himself when it comes to Kenya. And you're one of those unique guests that we must always ask where you are currently located, because you could be in Moscow, you could be in Kiev, you could be in Bujumbura,
could be in Praia,
you could even be in Wamunyoro or Wargadud. So where exactly are you right now, KONYE?
Actually, for the first time in a long time, I'm actually at my home base.
Okay.
For most people who are familiar with this background, actually, I'm at home. I'm in Los Angeles, California.
Okay.
For how long? Swallowing for how long?
And that is very rare for you to be home.
Well, actually, I was just looking at my flight itinerary. I'm going to be here for a little while, considering the rugby tournament is coming up this coming up weekend. We have the big tournament in LA. So I'm going to be stationed here for a little bit.
Okay. So unacheza chini hapo.
Anasema next weekend for a little bit. For a while.
Okay. Aya, sawa sawa. And I want to welcome all other listeners here. I can see Greg Hazlett is tuned in from Nairobi. Karibu sana. Sleod Ward from Texas. Karibu. Edward Ribui all the way from Houston. Man, Texas always in the building. Brenda BK also representing from Houston. Anasema Shujaa #1 KONYE. So karibuni sana and thank you so much for tuning in. And please drop questions that you want us to ask KONYE. We actually have him only for the first up to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So
Ule mse wa Mogoka.
yes. So 9:30 p.m.
9:30 p.m. is a hard stop.
9:30 p.m. is a hard stop.
JJ now.
Yes, because KONYE, he's not only a doctor in matters rugby, but he's actually a medical doctor, and he has to go to work. So
Even matters of the heart.
I don't know about matters of the heart. Hiyo ni conversation ya nyuma ya
Repairs broken hearts.
Hapa kwa YouTube kuna huyu mtu anajiita Sachit.
Okay, Sachit karibu sana. Sachit atuambie yuko tuned in wapi because yeye pia he's always never
San Diego.
Yani mse wa transhumancy.
Yes. Aya, sawa. Back to you, KONYE. In our last interview, that was back in June last year. My, how time flies fast. It was jubilation because our Shujaa men had just beat Germany to earn a spot back in the HSB Rugby 7 series after a season of relegation. It was a bittersweet moment, however, because our women's team, the Lady Lionesses, had just missed out on a spot to play in the qualifying tournament in Madrid. Now, KONYE, briefly walk us through what happened from that bittersweet moment to where we are today for the Kenya men's and women's rugby sevens teams. KONYE, twende kazi.
Hey, thanks again for the invite. The last time we talked, I was in Uganda actually. I was traveling, so I'm glad you kind of verified exactly where I'm at today. Today I get the privilege of talking to you guys when I'm at home ground. So it's been a long journey. So I think since the last time we spoke, I think I might have hinted a few things that were in the background that we were working on. Again, trying to see if we can get the girls back, the Kenya women, the Lionesses back on the series. They had to go back to the Challenger series. They had to go to the drawing board. The girls had a big tournament in Accra last year, and they performed really well. And I think that really did build a lot of momentum for them, such that when the HSBC series started, the girls were already up and ready at arms to do it. And again, it was very evident that when they went to Cape Town, they smashed and they came out winners both times. 2 weekends back to back. And again, they've done us proud. They've done the country proud. They've done rugby proud, showing again you can come up from nothing up to something. Again, considering the adversities that those girls had gone through over the years, you guys are well aware of how much those girls had put in a lot of effort, again, for months on end without any pay. So, considering all that, overcoming all that, and finally getting a sponsor down the road, again, all that counts, and you can see their performance that they've had. Ultimately becoming the first team in Kenya to win the Challenger Series. Again, the men's qualified last year from the Challenger Series, but again, they did not win the whole series. So the girls are the ones that have been the first to ever win the Challenger Series Cup, which is a big achievement. Again, not to say about the men's rugby. The men's have been doing a lot of hard work. There's been a lot of hard work. There's been a lot of stuff that they've been going through until we got the traction going. So there's been a lot going on.
Okay. Asante sana KONYE. Yeah, and today we are going to be talking a lot about the ladies team because, as you said, they're the first team to win the Challenger Series. Last year, the men played in the Challenger Series. They qualified for the core tournament, but they did not win it. But the women won it, and they won it in style. I can see Sachita anasema hapo on YouTube, niko hapa mwindi wa Embu from beautiful sunny San Diego.
Mogoka.
And I can also see Misha is saying greetings from Estonia. Karibu sana, Misha. And then I can also see Daniel Keta. Daniel is tuned in from Perth, Australia. Karibu sana, Daniel from Australia. Nice supporting Team Kenya with you in Singapore the other day. I was with you in Singapore the other day. That was a top weekend for the boys. Manifesting more great weekends like that for the boys. Now, KONYE, talking about Singapore. Tell us a bit about Singapore. Maybe for those who are not following the tournament, what exactly happened in Singapore for the boys? KONYE.
Well. Again, if you've been living under a rock or not been watching rugby, you might have realized that Kenya finally did break a hurdle, and we were able to be in the semi-finals, in the finals in Singapore, in the Singapore tournament. Again, we had come off a fairly okay tournament in Hong Kong the week before, and then in Singapore, our pool was not favorable, but it was a tough pool, and we were able to perform very well, and we were able to make it down to the it was challenging. Trust me, being in the stands is again, as a fan, it's very heartbreaking, and it's already also jubilating, because rugby can go anyway. So when the ball or the call is made your way, and you see the penalty kick being kicked, and all of a sudden the truth becomes reality that you're going to go to the finals, that was a jubilation moment. As Daniel might have said there, all of us in the stands were in great relief when the penalty kick went through and we qualified to go to the finals.
Okay, all right, good. But as you said, we went to the finals. We did not, of course, win the whole tournament, but considering it's been a very challenging season coming back from relegation, I don't know whether I can say that Kenya was the first team on a season that they came from relegation and they made it to the finals. I don't know whether that's fact. I know I have a lot of fact checkers here in the comments who can check, and they will swiftly correct me if I'm wrong. But I've never heard of a team coming off of relegation and getting to the finals of a tournament. So we have a lot to catch up on, but before we get on to that, I want to come to studio. I want to come to the panel in studio, and we also have Mika Och on Zoom. I'm going to start with you, DJ Omoshfire Papanda near studio, Salimia, the audience, and let us know, what is it that you expect tonight from KONYE NJOROGE? It's not the first time we're interviewing him, so he's in an elite group of people who've come on the OneMicShow twice. People come on the OneMicShow, but coming twice, it's a very elite few people who've been able to do that. So, DJ Moshfire, what do you expect from KONYE tonight? Karibu sana.
Asante wasikilizaji, mwanisikia? KONYE, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Basi karibu. Thanks a lot. So Ali, Asante, thanks for asking about my week, which you didn't ask about. But yeah. So from KONYE, as a fan, and somebody who pretty much, to me, I look at KONYE as the team, as part of the team, even though he's that one-man show I think he attends more games than the rugby officials. I could be wrong.
Probably.
But maybe KONYE won't say loudly, kwa sababu unajua saa zingine some people will catch feelings, but lakini ni sawa tu. What I expect from KONYE is to hopefully be able to break down to us the upcoming LA7s and the importance of both having the men and women in the Challenger Series, what it really means, as well as this is the first time that the women are playing in the, I think to me, in the sevens. I don't ever remember the women playing in the sevens in the US.
No.
Maybe it was or maybe some other legs. I don't ever remember the women playing in the US in the sevens, and we have the men in the same stadium.
Yes.
This is one of those, it's Sijini trifecta. I don't know what you call it, but yeah, so that I'm expecting to get the relevance behind all of this and this whole challenger thing. Like, what does that mean? And then if we win, then what?
Okay. All right. Now, before we go to Mika KONYE, I think that's a very important point that DJ Moshfire is bringing up. This being the first time we are seeing not only Kenyan women, but a women's tournament in the US, and what exactly that means. So KONYE, maybe briefly speak about that, and then we're going to go to Mika. KONYE.
Yeah, so as Mika was saying, it is correct. There's a little static in the back. You guys hear me okay?
Yes,
we can hear you.
All right. So again, as Mika was saying, again, this is the first time that we're having both Kenya women's and Kenya men's team on the main stage in HSBC here. Again, and I still think this is the first time that the women are actually playing in the main series here in the US. Because as you can remember clearly, last year when this tournament was held here in LA, Kenya was not participating because again we were in the Challenger Series the year before, and then so again did not happen. So fast forward, here we are. This is a life-changing moment for a lot of our women in sport. Again, they've always played hard and believed that they can be able to make it here. Last season, when Kenya was qualifying in Madrid, again, we're hoping that the girls are going to be in the same spot, but unfortunately, the moment did not happen. So this year, we get to see them both play in the big stage, and as you might have seen them play, those girls are playing their hearts out. Those girls are kicking butt, left, right, center.
Okay, all right. And we're going to be talking about them for quite a bit tonight. So I want to go to Mika right now. Mika Och, please salimia the audience and let us know, coming from the last interview that we had with KONYE last year and tonight, what is it that you expect from tonight's interview? Mika, twende kazi.
Oh yeah, ladies and gentlemen, wapenzi wasikilizaji na wachangiaji, leo mnaniona. Anyway,
wow.
I want to welcome KONYE. Thank you for coming in today. Thank you for gracing us. And what I want is just, it's a conversation, and probably a conversation about what World Rugby decided on the other day. They voted to reduce the number of core teams. And so we want to have a more in-depth conversation about that. What does that hold for Kenya? Which tournament suits Kenya best? Because remember, still, even if in the Challengers tournament, you're still getting money. And the most important thing here is for teams to get money. We want to have a conversation on why World Rugby decided to reduce the number of teams. And if the number of teams in a core tournament has been reduced, is there any detrimental to rugby? Does it help the growth of rugby, or does it ruin the growth of rugby? So a little bit in the conversation so that people can understand what is at stake, what's happening with rugby, and also the most important thing, what to study. We want to encourage people to go to the stadium. As KONYE said, as Moshe said, this is the first time, and maybe probably the last time you're going to see these two teams together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a reality. It's something different. Ele ni kuzuri pia ni kusupu. Jua imetoka simeto. And then imote joto. Like, watu endo on a game. That's what I'm expecting today. Have a good conversation about rugby. Make people understand rugby and make people want to go watch the rugby game. Hopefully we can make people to go to the stadium. Wale wataki kwenda study. Wale waje decide kwenda LA waamue. Last minute, just say traveling is a little bit low. It's not that expensive like it was last year. Things are a bit cheaper. Airlines are suffering what to travel, so you can still manage to do a quick last minute trip.
So sita.
Toko kote jua bana.
So sita na umemaliza kila kitu.
Umefanya kazi for the past 5 months. And wote jua LA. Uone rugby kicheza.
Okay. Aya. They call him Mika Och. And Larry is on video, like all those admirers ambao walikuwa wamechoka kwa neo picha yake. That's what Mika looks like. That's his real face.
Imependeza.
Yeah, sawa. But Mika, asante sana. Now, Mika has brought up some very important points that KONYE will be talking about later on. And that's in the fact that this is the first time in the US we're seeing both the men and women. The first time we're seeing a women's tournament in the US being played alongside the men's, or just anytime seeing the women. So that's a big deal. And I think people need to understand that.
Wait, Ali, sorry to interrupt you. I thought we used to see the women's tournaments also play when we would go for the rugby sevens.
No,
so it's not the same thing.
No, I have never seen in my history of going for rugby in the US.
Yes,
I have never seen women play. And maybe if there were women who are playing in Vegas, it was that other side tournament. It wasn't. So there was no women's leg. There were some legs. There were some legs that had both men and women. US was not one of them. Because I've never seen women play in the US. So this will be quite interesting. And I think also there's an issue of maybe the number of teams being reduced. We're going to talk about that later on. But KONYE, what I want you to address right now is that core status, being in that top in that top league for both the men and the women. I mean, we talk about it a lot, but what does it really mean for the players? What does it really mean for the fans? What does it mean for the funding part of it? And what does it mean for the future of Kenyan rugby? I know there's a lot of put in there, but just give us a brief of what the importance of the core status is. The women, of course, will be going in there for the first time if they qualify. KONYE.
So again, as many people might know, again, there are two, at this particular point, there are two main tiers that we have. Again, there is a core status, which Kenya men's are playing, the Shujaas are playing in. And then there's a challenger series, which are the girls that I just talked about earlier, that the girls just won. So the core status, you do get a specific amount of funding from World Rugby. And the funding that you get from World Rugby can be able to be utilized to develop your program, to build your ground, your ground programs in the background, and then, to sustain your programs as you go. The dilemma that you have is once you fall out of the core status, how much funding do you get? That is not yet to be discussed yet. And the other thing is, so when you're in the Challenger Series, you do get some funding, but it's not as much funding as you get as when you're in a core status. So that is always a big deal. Number two thing, the thing you need to ask about, what does it mean for the fans? The fans, it means that, again, if both teams are on the core series, a fan like me does not have to be spending money to go to two different series, and I can only go to one series, and I can switch both, and maybe I can have a little more free time. Maybe I can do other things. I can find another new hobby. So that'll be a good.
So yani umesema Huruma is not an estate.
and then you also the word, I don't even know if it's an English series. I don't even know if that's an English series. Two series. Eh?
You're dealing with a doctor here.
Okay. As far as we know, it is right.
Yes.
Okay. He's a doctor. He cannot be wrong.
Anashika scalpel alafu na wewe ndio kwa hapo chini.
Nakubali series is
And
English.
by the way, I'm speaking through I'm channeling KONYE. Ototikidhie. Haya, carry on.
Yeah, that one right there. I agree with you. KONYE.
So again, that means less trips or more directed trips and more directed resources. And again, more directed and focused energy. Again, I don't tire traveling. Again, I don't mind traveling because again, rugby has taken me to a lot of places where I've never visited before. So I get to enjoy visiting new places. But again, the less, the better.
Okay. All right. So I want to remind the listeners that you're tuned into the OneMicShow and we have KONYE Wanjoroge live. Dr. KONYE Wanjoroge. I keep forgetting that. He's not just a doctor of rugby culture, but he's also a doctor of medicine.
Actually, a doctor of what?
Of rugby culture.
Put respect on the name.
Yes,
what?
He's also a doctor of medicine.
KONYE umesikia doctor of what?
Yes, you up. We've coined him today.
It has been coined here.
If it picks up, we just send him an invoice.
Yeah, no, and mutasikia watu wengine wakichukua kama hashtag ya.
Yes, kama hashtag ya twende study.
Anyway,
the way some other people try to take it.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Yeah, but let's keep going.
Umekuja na violence.
Yes, I also I also want to
welcome inventors.
Yes, sawa. Wacha nikaribisha watu hapa. I want to welcome Benny Dhiongo. Benny Dhiongo anasema first time that they both are playing in USA at the same time. Benny, karibu sana to the OneMicShow. And then Shakim Beja pia karibu sana. Then we have Ida Alicia all the way from North Carolina. Anasema usiseme ati una save, tupatane LA. This is a first. And one big thing here, KONYE, and I would like, like the women who are tuned in here to type in the comment section, whether on YouTube or on Facebook, to tell us if they're coming. Because the women's team is coming, and it's been, I must say at a personal level, it's been a challenge, convincing women, because this should be a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal for Kenyans as a whole, but it should also be a big deal for women, because women are coming to play for the first time. So,
Ali before KONYE onge,
yes,
let me add, wacha niongeze kakuni kwa hiyo moto. Let me add something.
Okay, 20 minutes.
Honestly, right now, I will hands down say the women's team is better than the men's team. If you want to see pure total rugby, kujionea mademu akicheza. Kwa hiyo dhani ni uongo tupatane ile. Usipoenjoy your game, ndakulipa.
They are good. They are good.
But those are Mika's
No,
views.
what Mika? There's one. They have a very big player who's
That team is better than the
Yani
men's
kuna
team.
handoffs zingine
Hands down.
anapea handoffs kama sita
Yes.
and she doesn't go down.
Well, but the team is good, no doubt.
Ama
I
ndio
don't
wamelose
think
game
against-
ngapi? Wamelose game moja.
No, they-
Wamelose game moja the World Series tournament.
By the way,
That
I
is-
even felt if they're in the main series, they would have caused a lot of problems.
Oh yeah,
If they're
that
in the
team
main
is
series
way
this season.
better than the men's team. So if you want to see total pure rugby, and honestly, I'm not capping here. Those girls are good. So again, this is a spectacle that has never happened before. If you have a chance to come to LA, come to LA, because you're going to see the men who are used to, and right now they're at peak or may peak form. Like last year, they peaked form at the end of the
Yes.
season, which is good for them. The chances of staying in the main cup are high. But I can guarantee, and I can put my money down and say that if I was a betting man, I would put my money down and say the women will qualify. Machalini anasema, yeah, ni wazuri, but competition is tough.
Yeah.
Kuna team ngumu hapo, but for the chicks, even with the tough competition, that team is good.
Okay, aya sawa sawa. You're saying if you're betting, but kumbuka betting ni haram. Hata shati yangu ya sports pesa nimekataa. But sawa sawa. Let's go back to KONYE on this issue of women, and I'm glad to see, like I can see Aida hapa anasema I will be there kwa stadium for the Lionesses, and then Brenda BK anasema Mika uko na point, Lionesses are fire. So KONYE on hii issue ya like just making, especially because of course most rugby fans in Kenya are mostly men. There are women who watch rugby, but it's mostly like men who watch it consistently. That we need to do to communicate to our women that this right here is a big deal, because there's always issues that come up like when it comes to women's sports in Kenya nanini, but this right here, how do we communicate to make, like our women who are maybe casual fans or maybe not even fans, to make them understand how big of a deal this is? KONYE.
Again, as you might have heard, that's very clear that there are a lot of men rugby fans than women's fans in Kenya, and actually worldwide. Again, depending on what corner of the world you are. If you go to New Zealand, yes, you'll find a lot of women rugby fans. But the main thing that I usually say is that, again, if you're a rugby fan or if you love any kind of rugby and you want to see some good rugby, the women are playing some really good rugby, as Micah has said, that, again, they're playing some good, pristine rugby. The girls have only lost one game through the Challenger Series. Again, and it was a major flip. That day was cold as hell, and I felt bad. Even in the stands, I was freezing my balls off. So those girls were right in the middle, they were right in the middle of the thick of it. And again, the ball rolled in the wrong direction. So cannot blame them. But as I always say, sometimes you have to learn to lose to be a good winner. So the girls came back with a vengeance, and guess what they did? They did put in their effort. So as I say, Kenyan women are to be cheered for. And if you are a rugby fan, or even if you don't watch rugby, just come out there. I'll teach you a few songs that you're going to be able to create some memories out of, that you came and cheered for the women's team. And that's something that's going to leave some memory in you.
Okay, asante sana KONYE. Now before we come to Unomike pia amekuwa studio hapa na watu wajamsikia sana. On YouTube hapa I can see people are active. There's Bamo ameweka ma love hearts tu hapo. And then Amani K anasema that's my dad. Daddy.
Allah.
Yeah. So
Hi,
Amani.
Amani.
Yeah, hi Amani.
Welcome, Amani. Welcome
Yes.
to the
We
show.
will treat your father with utmost
Yes,
respect.
and and this is what I like about the OneMicShow, is that people of all ages, it's friendly to people of all ages, fathers, and it's very interesting now that, and this is not the first guest that we are seeing, their children are out here listening to them, so I like where this platform has come, and the fact that it is good enough for our children to come and listen to what the parents are saying. So you have to be careful on what you say. And then I can see Sachicha anasema the Lionesses are really strong this year. Hata mimi nitaingia study from Sato mpaka Sunday, so it's gonna be 2 days.
Hatoki.
Yes.
Na
and
ye,
then-
na ye ndio uni ule mse wa San Diego na ile pickup.
yes.
Tunamwona
Niulize kana nitataska na kama nataska ama.
haezi sema on
no,
haezi sema on air.
hiyo on air.
Haezi sema on air.
On air watu wa ice wanaweza kuwa
Haezi
nasikiza.
sema on air.
Yeah. Ice wanaweza kuwa
Lakini
nasikiza.
atacheza kama yeye.
yeah.
Anajua
Barafu.
atacheza
watu wa
kama yeye.
barafu.
Sema
yes.
barafu iko
Watu
masikio.
hatutaki watu wa barafu wakuje huko study. Alafu hapa Lucas Situational anasema live twende game na Cape Fear itakuwa North Carolina June 26-27. Hapo asha pitch tayari. We're going to be talking about this later on the show. Uno Mike.
Yes sir.
Yeah, tuambie what's your expectation of tonight? What waja kusikia?
No, I think they are, you know, it always boils down to when KONYE is talking about funding. So tunajuanga kuna tupesa tunakujanga.
Yes.
And that money is supposed to facilitate the team, do something. It's supposed to teivia, to assist.
Yeah.
But for some reason, there always seems to be some brouhaha around that.
The money is not money.
The money is not money. It
Yeah.
never is
It's
money.
the math that's not mathing.
Yeah, it's
Right?
the math that's not mathing.
Even the money and the mathing, the math moneying is just and it's kind of hard sometimes just to get to the crux of it. Although I believe there's a way. If we were to do a forensic something and just maybe call people out, I've always had this issue with I think the Kenya ones, the guys who are probably pros back in the day, Akina, and I'm not saying them in particular, but Akina Hayange, Akina the Engine, Kina Misha, Kina Marine, those guys who played rugby. You know, like sometimes I'm always eager to hear the voices, not in chat groups, but
Speak it
upfront,
out.
speak it out. Let it be known that a culture needs to be changed, because now we hear there is Vurutano, uko KRFU, sijui Sasha, sijui this. Anyway, that's for me that comes into the
fan.
picture. Like
You're
as a
looking at
fan,
it as
like
a fan,
okay,
yeah.
it's good, you know. Then also another thing, and I think Mika brought this up in our group, or in our discussions before the show. You know how they're reducing the teams.
Yeah.
That makes, you know, it's like the window is narrowing.
Yeah.
You know, but that means that also now you are unatoa mafans. Ama mafans now will start going elsewhere. I don't know.
Yeah. So that we're going to talk about later on, but I want KONYE to touch on the issue of money, sponsorship, because there's some people who are looking from the outside. Anasema si wako kwa field, si game iko ndani ya field. Hiyo money, how is it affecting performance kwa field? Walking ya kwa field, si ni wewe na ball na wewe na the other team, and that's it. So there are people who are reasoning like that, because these are conversations that I've had in WhatsApp groups and in other places. So talk to us maybe about the money part, the sponsorship, and why it matters, or if it matters. KONYE.
So again, this is public knowledge. Again, I'm glad Mike has brought this up. This is public knowledge. Unfortunately, historically, there were a lot of inconsistencies in the funding, in the usage of funds. Let me call it that way. Let me be politically correct.
Hey, that's diplomatic. Jeez.
Again, there was some misuse of funds in the past, and funds were taken and used in the wrong hands. And I think it has been made clear out in public domain that since our new administration in KRU, things have changed. It's not the same. It's not the same whip that was whipping before. So there has been more accountability and less loopholes to use the money the way that it was not being. It's not an inappropriation of funds. Like for example, nowadays, again, things have been streamlined where the players directly get their money sent to them by the sponsors. They avoid the middleman.
What?
So
Interesting.
that is a big thing.
Oh, that's a big deal.
Wow.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal that makes sure that the player, again, I usually try to remind everybody that, again, without the player, there is no rugby.
True.
That is true. That is true, yes.
That's the main person. That's the main person that's bringing the funds to the union.
Yes.
So, and I think there are some people in the union that had actually forget that part and used to take advantage of the players. So when that barrier is crossed, when that bridge or the gap, there's a stop gap that kind of prevents the funds from having a third party and going directly to the players, it ruffles some feathers somewhere. But again, you always have to remember, once you take care of the players, everything else always falls into place. So again, there has been some changes, and again, most people don't like it because again, they were so used to the.
You mean the cartels, the ones that were enjoying.
Cartels, not have a way to
not vibes,
not vibes.
Okay.
Why do you call them cartels? Sema tu wezi.
Okay, wezi.
Unajua ukisema cartels inakaoga ni wezi tu.
It is organized because again you have to remember.
Yeah, they are organized thieves.
Because it's an organized kind of crime. Because they are able to lure and make a player think that they are less valuable and they can take the pay out of them. So what can you call that? So once you close those kind of loops, kind of helps develop the sport, and the player sees their importance. And then when they put it on their ground, they put on their boots and they put themselves on the line for the game and for the country. They know they're doing it on purpose.